so much for joining me today. Did you know that today is Love Your Pet Day? Well, it happens to be one of those fun holidays, and I thought it would be a great way to incorporate a pet-themed card in today's Studio Monday post. Now, today I'm going to be featuring how to create some minimalistic cards, or otherwise also known as clean and simple. But clean and simple can sometimes be difficult for people to achieve. And the best way that I can describe this is to basically think of something clean and simple. You want whatever you're going to have as the main focus of your card be what's going to have the greatest impact. You want that to be bold, you want it to really stand out, and just draw your eye right to that area of the card. Now also, when creating a clean and simple card, you need to make sure that everything that you have in that card balances each other out. Because if you have a card that's not in balance, it's going to not allow the card to have the impact that it needs to carry that clean and simple appearance. Clean and simple is fun, and it's a really cool style to pull off. So I hope that my tips for you today are going to help you in creating your clean and simple cards that have a really great impact. So for my project today, I'm going to be using this stamp from La La Land Crafts. This is a new stamp company for me, but I really love the quality of their stamps. They also have dies, which I'll be using later on in today's video. This really cute little Frenchie dog, he is so adorable. And he actually reminds me of two dogs that my friends have. One is a really cute little dog named Lucas, and that is my friend Stephanie's dog, and it's a really beautiful golden brown color, which is what I'm going to be doing here on this particular card. And then one of my other friends, Heidi, she's the owner of Simon Says Stamp. She had a wonderful little dog named Simon. And that's who Simon Says Stamp is named after. And he had a really great brown and white color scheme. So I'm going to be coloring this dog in both color schemes, both the golden colors and also in the brown tones. Now I'm only going to show the coloring of one of the dogs because I colored them exactly the same. I just used different colors on each dog. So I'm going to show you this particular dog, and then I'll go ahead and color the other one off camera. But I basically did some very simple coloring. But I wanted to make sure that the coloring that I did do had some really great contrast, so that way it stood off of my card really nicely. So here I'm using some red and blues for the outfit on this cute little dog. Now I'll also mention that I'm shading these images, but I'm skipping over different areas. So I'm starting off by coloring that red in the hat. I colored the base coat, and then I moved on to coloring the base coat of the shirt. And the reason I skipped adding the shading after applying the base coat was because I wanted to give the base coat a chance to dry. Over my time of coloring with Copics, I've noticed that those are certain colors that have a tendency to bleed a lot faster. So by allowing the base coats to dry before I add additional shading, it allows the paper to get saturated with the color, and then I won't have as much bleeding as I go ahead and add the shading. Now also, when I'm creating a clean and simple card, I want to make sure that I'm adding lots of little details, because the little details is what finishes off your minimalistic card. So one of the details I added to this image is by adding some black glaze pen to the nose and eyes of the dog. And that allows the dog's eyes and nose to be able to really stand out, and it brings the whole image to life. Another detail I added was I added some stippling to both the face and also the fur on the body. And that's because I wanted it to have a little bit of texture. So I'm using the same colors that I had used to color the dog, and I'm just adding those simple little dot stippling details, but that really just brings the dog to life and makes it look more realistic. So here you can see the two dogs. I've already colored the Simon dog on the left, and now I'm going to go ahead and cut out little Lucas here. I'm using some Cutter Bee fine tip scissors. And I get some questions from people on how I do my fussy cutting. I'm basically just going around the image and I'm moving the paper instead of the scissors as I cut. And that's going to help me get a nice clean edge. Alright, so now that I've gone ahead and fussy cut those out, I'm going to move on to creating the other elements that I'm going to need on my card. So I'm taking this die here. This is a cute little speech bubble from La La Land Crafts. And I'm cutting it from some blue-violet cardstock from Simon Says Stamp. I'm also going to cut it from some Audrey Blue cardstock as well. And you'll notice that it cuts out a little heart inside the speech bubble. I'll be cutting out some other cardstocks to go ahead and fill in the little heart in a little bit here. First, I want to go ahead and stamp my sentiment. So I'm using this Laura's Love stamp set, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp the sentiment, "Sending you hugs." I'm going to stamp this in some Simon Says Stamp clear ink, and that's because I want to go ahead and do some heat embossing with some white embossing powder. Now I want to also make sure that, because like I said, with clean and simple cards, you want the details to really have center stage here. So I want to make sure that the stamping here is super clean and perfect. And you'll notice that the colors of the speech bubbles are colors that are incorporated into the coloring on the dogs. Now I also die cut these panels from some white cardstock using the Simon Says Stamp stitched rectangles. The nice clean lines of these stitching detail dies are really perfect for a minimalistic card because they really just add that little extra detail with the stitching, but it's a nice clean and simple look. So I'm going to go ahead and start laying out where I'm going to be placing these dogs and the speech bubbles, and you can see here kind of my general idea of where I'm going to be putting them. I want to go ahead and pop up these panels off of my card bases. For the dog with the red and blue color scheme, I'm using some lipstick red cardstock, and then I also used some sunshine cardstock for the card base on the other dog. I'm using fun foam to go ahead and pop this up, and I'll go ahead and line this up onto my A2 size cards. Once I've added the panels onto my cards, I'm taking some foam tape and I'm adding it to the back side of my dogs. Now I'm going to go ahead and line up the dogs onto the right hand side of the panel, and I'm also going to bring in the speech bubble so I can get a good idea of where I need to place the image onto my card. So I'll go ahead and line these up, and this is really important. You want these to be lined up perfectly on your card when you're doing something clean and simple, because again, this is going to be the focus. So you really want this to be placed correctly and making sure that all of your images are balanced well. So here's where I went ahead and used that same die and cut little hearts from some different colors of cardstock. I'm taping these to the back side of my little speech bubbles. I found this was the easiest way to go ahead and add those hearts in because I do want to go ahead and pop this speech bubble up off of my cards. So I just used some orange and red colors for the little hearts. Again, these are the same colors that are in the dog's coloring itself, so it all matches and coordinates really well. Now for the speech bubble, I'm popping this up with 2 layers of foam tape instead of 1. And that's because it's going to give a little bit of relief off of the dog itself and just add an extra layer of dimension. So I went ahead and popped both of those up the exact same way. Next, it's time to go ahead and tie some baker's twine onto the top portion of the card. Now you don't have to do this, but I thought it was just an extra little detail that brought the card together. And also I chose colors that matched with the dogs. So I used a gray baker's twine to pull out the gray and the scarf on the Lucas card. And then for the Simon card, I'm going to go ahead and use some brown baker's twine which matched the coloring of Simon itself. So I went ahead and trimmed those down after I tied them into a nice little bow. And I made sure that I lined the bow up centered with the dog because that's going to help balance out the card as well. Now to make sure that the images look grounded onto my card, I'm using a bit of Copic marker to go ahead and add some shading underneath of these cards. This grounds the image and just helps make the whole card come to life. I used the grays, like I said, for the Lucas card, and then for Simon, I'm actually going to use some warm grays and add that coloring to the bottom as well. Now another tip for creating a clean and simple card is to add a little bit of embellishing that coordinates with the card and also balances itself out. So you'll see here I'm using an odd number of sequins. These are sequins that are from Neat and Tangled, and I'm balancing them not only with the colors in the card, but I'm creating a visual triangle here with the colors. So you have the large orange hat, and then you have the sequins on the top and bottom. So visually you have a triangle where it really just draws your eye right to the dogs itself, and the same thing with the red and blue card. I also used some Nouveau Crystal drops, and I added that in some different areas. I used orange and red on top of the little hearts, and I used some white to add some detailing to the eyes. So that's going to finish off these cards. Again, these were really simple, minimalistic cards, but the process of creating a card like this really isn't as simple as you would think. It's not just slapping something onto a card and calling it done. You have to put some thought into this to really have a great balanced card design, especially for something that's really clean and simple like this. So I hope this has given you some help and given you a few tips that you can pull off of this video and use in creating your own minimalistic, clean and simple cards. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below and head on over to the Simon Says Stamp blog where you can get more information on these cards, including still pictures and products used. I hope this has also given you some inspiration for Love Your Pet Day. I think that's a really fun holiday and perfect for those of you that have pets, whether it's dogs, cats, turtles, fish, anything. I think this is just a really fun and cute day. So thanks again for stopping by and spending some time with me. I will see you again soon and have a fabulous day. Bye!